Lesson 9, Sprite Properties, bubble number 1. Look at the code below and predict where the B sprite will appear. What will the program show? So I want you to pause for just a second and take a look at this code. And what do you think is going to appear in this box? Is it going to be 1B? Are there going to be more than 1B? Where is it going to appear? All right, so we've got our variable B. Create sprite 200 200. So if we were just going off of where this code right here would place our B animation, once we set our animation and drew it and did not have these two lines of code, our B would be right here in the middle of our white screen. But with these B.X and B.Y, we are not adding more B's. We are just replacing our numbers that we have in our create sprite location. So instead of 200, 200, it's going to go B.X 350. Oh, going up to the variable and replacing that. And then B.Y 350. We're going to zoom right up here and we're going to replace that with 350. So our B is actually going to be at 350, 350, which is right around here. So go ahead and run the program and we can see our little B right there. All right, lesson 9, sprite properties, bubble number 2. This level follows a video that you may have watched in your class. If you missed the video, you can watch it in the helps and tips tab of this level. So remember, you have this helps and tips tab where it not only has the video, but it also has many other tools and much more information that you can use when you are working on your projects. Going back to the instructions. Sprite properties. Sprite properties keep track of all the information your program needs to know about a sprite, such as size and location. You can change the value of these properties just like you do variables and see the results when your sprite is drawn on the screen. Do this. Run the program to see where the sprite appears. So we've got our paint palette and we've got our paintbrush. Change the location of the paintbrush to touch the paint palette. Change the sprite X and sprite Y properties of the paintbrush sprite to change its location. So we are moving the paintbrush to the palette. And I want you to dip the paintbrush in the blue paint. So go ahead and try that now. Press pause and resume when you are done. Now that you've given it a try, we're going to talk about it. So you may have noticed when you moved your paintbrush sprite, it doesn't move it from a corner or a side point. It moves it from the very center. So our XY coordinate is going to be the center of our sprite. So when we move it, we're looking to put our XY coordinate a little bit above the paint and a little bit diagonal. We're going to try 131 to 42. So we're going to make sure we're in our brush because we want to move our brush 131 to 42. And let's give that a try. And we land it right on it. Now you might have landed a little under and a little below. Make sure to play with these numbers and see it. If I had maybe put 250, no, 150, then it would have been maybe just a little off to the side and then I could move it back over. Lesson 9, sprite properties, bubble number 3. New properties. Sprites have lots of properties. Check out the 2 new blocks in this activity and try them out for yourself. Notice the different sprites can use the same animations and still look different because of the properties. Run the program to see what is different about the first 2 notes. Notice how the rotate and the scale block make the first 2 notes look different. Use the same. Oh, so let's run it first. So if we notice, this is our full-size image. And here is our first note, and it's much smaller, and it is also angled. And then this one is still slightly smaller than that, but much bigger than that, and it's angled the other way. So if we go and look at our code, here is our note 1, and our scale is 0.3. So 1 would equal 100%. So 1 would be normal size of whatever the size of the sprite that you're working with is. 0.3, anything lower than that one is going to make it smaller, and anything greater than one is going to make it bigger. So 0.3 is almost 1/3 of the size of the original image. So that's what makes it smaller. Now rotate, think of a circle. So here is our circle. And then we are going to line here and here. Here and here. So here we have 90 degrees. So if we want to rotate our image 90 degrees, we're going to type in 90. If we want to rotate it 90 more degrees, so we now have 90 and 90. So then we have now rotated it 180 degrees. Okay. So if we want it to be upside down, we can rotate it 180 degrees. Now, not only can we go in a positive direction, but we can also go in a negative direction. So if we want to make our image rotate left 90 degrees, we would put in a negative 90. And then the same thing. Let's say we wanted it, let's do another 20 degrees. So now we have negative 90, and then we're going to do another 20 degrees. So then this would be like negative 110. You don't have to just use 90s. You can use numbers in between. But if you do it positive, it's going to rotate right. If you do it negative, it's going to rotate left. Okay. So then we have our note 2, which is at a scale of 0.7 and at a negative 30-degree angle. That's why this top part goes to your left. All right, so it wants us to use the same blocks on the last 2 notes to make them look different. Use the rotation and the scale blocks. All right, so we're going to go to sprites and we're going to add our scale. So here's note 3. So we're going to add our scale and we're going to add our rotation. And remember, we need our labels to match our variable. So they have note 3. So we're going to change both of these to note 3. Remember, spelling, capitalization, no spaces, everything must match. All right, and so I think I want to shrink this note. So we got a small note, a slightly larger note. I'm going to put in another small note. So I'm going to make it, let's do 0.5. We're going to make it half size. And then we have a positive rotation, a negative rotation. So I'm going to put in another positive rotation. Let's try 40. Let's try 45. All right, and let's see what that does. All right, so I've got my note right here, and then I'm going to do my last note. So I'm going to drag it my scale, and I'm going to drag my rotation. All right, and then you make sure you change it. And since I went with a positive rotation here, I want to go with a negative rotation, but I don't want to rotate it quite as much. So let's do 20. And I want it larger, but I want it small enough that it's going to fit on the screen. So I'm going to do 0.7. So let's see if that works. Okay, so now it's pointing, but I think these two are a little too similar. So I'm going to, instead of 0.7, I'm going to make it a little smaller and do 0.6. And maybe I want to rotate it a little more. Remember, you can play with these and change these as much as you want, and you can reset them as many times as you want. So now I have changed all my notes so that they all look a little different.